Hey, welcome back to episode 39 of the Cellarcast. I feel weirdly tired today. I don't know. My sleep's been all funny recently. I feel like do I say that often? I'm not even sure. Anyway, I usually start these off a little foggy in the head, and then sometime after the comment review, I kind of stumble my way through the comment review, and then my brain kind of gets going on thinking. So yeah, I have nothing. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say off the bat that I'm not going to get to later. Yeah. New main channel video is going to probably come out at the end of the month. I'm going to be super busy this upcoming week. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, let's get on to comment review. So, we only have, looks like one actual question from last episode. It comes from Losey. So I made the mistake last time of revealing that I am a huge JoJo fan on the podcast. So naturally, we gotta do the whole rundown. So he asks, favorite character from JoJo, favorite villain, favorite JoJo, favorite part, favorite soundtrack/song, opening, ending, battle scene, etc. All in one. If I ask one by one, we could spend half a year of a podcast talking about JoJo in each one. Yeah, that's a funny thing. If you meet someone who's also really into JoJo and is like read the whole manga and everything and the spin-offs and all that, you could just talk about JoJo for like literally years. For years. There's so much stuff to talk about. Especially when the manga gets back up and running. Which please be soon. Come on. Come on, Araki. Please, I know he deserves a break, you know? He deserves a break, but I'm dying for some more JoJo. I know it's gonna take another 10 years. Oh god, is it gonna take 10 years? Fuck. That's stressing me out. Let's get back to the question. I'll just go this in order. Favorite character from JoJo. Favorite character is difficult because there's like 100 characters. I have some favorites. Okay, my favorite character from JoJo who is not a JoJo would almost definitely be Rohan. I think Rohan is really funny. I just like seeing him do stuff. There's a lot. I mean, I have a Rohan figure behind me. I love. Maybe it's because he's like, you know, an artist. He's like a writer and stuff. So I kind of relate to that. And he cuts open spiders and licks their insides, which I can also relate to. His Heaven's Door is a really cool ability. I thought it was so neat. Like when he could just literally open you up into a book, and then read everything about you. It's such an interesting ability, and it's so perfect for someone who's a writer, because I find actually that, like, you know, Rohan, and this is kind of what I admire about Araki as well in his writing style, is that he's so just endlessly curious, which I think he even said in Manga in Theory and Practice, which is his book about basically his approach to making manga. Araki is just endlessly curious, and he's always looking for inspiration, and Rohan is kind of like a reflection of that, and how he's always looking for story ideas. And I kind of find that too. Like, I will just I've dropped so many games, so many shows and things, because I just feel like I've gotten enough out of them. Like, I choose to consume things usually because it has an idea that I'm interested in, and as soon as I feel like I've sucked enough of the marrow out for my own like brain to kind of feed on, I just dramatically, my interest just drops off. This happens with like a lot of things. Yeah, I'd have to go with Rohan. My favorite JoJo is Giorno. I love Part 5. Part 5 is the one that made me into like a JoJo super fan. In fact, I can actually name specifically. So yeah, Part 5 is my favorite part, and then we'll knock off a couple of these questions. The White Album fight is where I became... that's where I... How do I... I've never like I'd never read anything before the White Album fight where I was literally like almost screaming while I was reading it. It was so hype. It was so intense. It was so down to the wire. And then when you get that final victory, it's like, holy shit. It's so awesome. It's like the perfect example of like, in my opinion, pardon me, jeez, burping a lot. In my opinion, you can have, you know, a climax or something. You can have stakes that involve, you know, the whole world being destroyed. You can have all of reality. But like, is it as hype as just like 3 dudes fighting on a bridge in Venice? No, probably not. That fight between that 2-on-1 fight on a bridge in Venice at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., as the sun is rising, is like the hypest shit ever. It's so good. Giorno, so yeah, Giorno's my favorite JoJo. He's the first JoJo who I felt like I really like clicked with as a character. Like, I like Jonathan. I like Jonathan as like, you know, he's a good guy. I like characters who are just good people all around. And then Joseph is just the most fun character. He is just he is so entertaining. You're just, every time he's on screen, he's in a fight, you're always waiting for like, how is he going to surprise you next? And then he does, and even though you're anticipating a surprise, it's like, oh, what? You left the string through the spikes, and what the heck? What? Joseph, you crazy bastard. He's so good. Probably my third, just so I would say, is probably my third favorite JoJo. After, the order is Giorno, Johnny, and then Joseph. I like, Jotaro's fine. I think Jotaro, he's like cool in a very simple way, and he gets a lot more interesting the further into the series you go. I think by like part 6, and once you have like a full overview of his character, he's actually pretty interesting. I always was just interested in these like little reads you can make into his character and stuff that's sort of like implied and you know, stuff that's like kind of subtle, like interestingly subtle. There's a lot of like weird little subtleties in JoJo that you kind of like have to read into. It's also because, like, you know, it's kind of unexpected because it's a very over-the-top series, so you wouldn't expect these little things about, like, oh yeah, you know, like, Jotaro's just like a kind of like troubled youth, like 17-year-old kid, and a lot of these reactions he's having is just like him, like, trying to imitate the heroes that he looks up to in like westerns and stuff like that, because he doesn't have a father figure. And you see like that, like, when he becomes a dad, and it's like, it's interesting. Like, it's interesting, like, when he becomes a dad, and then he and Jolene don't have a great relationship, but he has this weird, like, it's almost like he doesn't even know how to be a father, because he didn't have that in his life. Anyway, Josuke, people love Josuke. I think Josuke's okay. He's a very, like, mid... I don't feel any particular way about Josuke. He's cool. Crazy Diamond's a cool power. He's like, I don't know, he's the friend. Or I think Araki specifically said that, I think there was some interview from a few years ago where Araki said that his favorite JoJo was Josuke, because he always wrote Josuke to be like the friend you'd always want to have. He's just like a nice, cool guy, and like, You know, he's sort of punk, but he's got a good heart, and he's just a friendly dude. I like that about him, but Rohan is my favorite Part 4 character. And then Giorno was the first one that I was like, fuck yeah, I love watching this guy. Some people like don't like Giorno because he's a really, he doesn't do a lot. Like Bruno, there's the joke about like, oh, Bruno's the real main character at Part 5 because he's the one who does all the work. He takes the lead on stuff. It's like, yeah, because Bruno's like the leader. He's the leader of the squad. But I always loved how Giorno would he was always quiet, and then he hangs back, and then he just observes. And then when everything seems like, you know, everyone's gonna die, he just comes out with like, I figured it out. Here's what we need to do. And then he uses gold experience in some insane way. I love gold experience. I think the design is awesome. The power is awesome. I loved seeing it in action. So I don't know, and I just thought he was so cool. You know, I read Part 5 when I was, you know, like in high school, and like that. I don't know. He's a kind of character who appeals to me. I remember he has this line where he goes like, if you're willing to, if something like on the lines of like, if you're willing to kill, then you should be prepared to die yourself. And I was like, that's so fucking hard. That's raw as fuck, dude. I was waiting for a joke, because, like, you know, some of the characters in JoJo are so evil. They're just horrifically evil. And you just want to see them get their comeuppance. And every other JoJo is like, oh, I'm gonna knock you out. Giorno's like, I'm straight up murking you, dude. Fucking what he does to Chocolata. Literally punches him off a building into the trash. Dude, come on. I loved how I love how Giorno kind of like, he's the noble heart of Jonathan with kind of the cruel capabilities of Dio. It's a very like flowery way of saying that, but that's like the best way I can like describe Giorno. Like, he has the highest of intentions, but he's willing to like do, if he thinks you're evil, he's got no mercy for you. And I don't know, I liked seeing that in a JoJo. I think that kind of like, his brand of kind of ruthlessness, I think is like a nice addition to like the lineup of JoJo's, the tapestry of JoJo's. Like, it's a good contrast, you know? And that's why I think, getting a little off topic, I think that comes up also in like Part 8 Josuke, where it's like, I think there's a lot of parallels between Part 5 and Part 8 that I won't necessarily get into because it's a lot. But I like, he also has that, like, he's literally a split personality, sort of, kind of. He's like split between two different people, essentially. And he can be the nicest, goofiest, kind of happy-go-lucky guy, and then, but when it gets serious, he's like fucking mowing down Damo in the street. Anyway, favorite part would be 5. I think I said that. Favorite soundtrack / song. I really like. Maybe it's like sound. I'm assuming like from the OST from the anime. The Pillarmen theme is awesome. I feel like that's a meme also. Avalon, I think that's what Cars' theme is called. That one's really cool. Yeah, the Part 2 music is really cool. They got a different composer after the first season, so everything after that is a new composer, which I think is why I think pretty sure it's been like the same composer writing the music, which is why all the JoJos, starting with Jotaro, have like motifs on the same, or what would you call it? Arrangements on the same like idea or on the same motif. Bum 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 bum. Just that, you know. Yeah, I don't know. All the main JoJo themes are really hype. Like, Like when you hear it, you're like, someone's about to get their ass kicked. Opening, my favorite opening is probably either Bloody Stream or Fighting Gold. Yeah. I'm also quite partial to Chase. I think Chase gets way too much hate because it's edgy. I'm an edgelord. Come on. I just said I like Giorno. I'm an edgelord. Yeah, I really like Chase. The band that performs at Bata, really good. Go listen to their other stuff. Ending. I feel like my favorite ending theme would probably be... I mean, Roundabout's a classic. Freakin' You was a really funny choice. I don't know. So the thing is, the funny thing with JoJo endings is that it's always... I'm pretty sure that they're all requests from Araki. And Araki really likes classic rock. And so most of them are classic rock, or in that vein. And I'm gonna have to come clean with you guys right now. I don't really like classic rock that much, despite loving JoJo. The classic rock references, they're neat, but just not really into it. Yeah, I don't know. I thought the Enigma song, New Crusaders, I think? Modern Crusaders, that one was neat. What were the part 4 endings? I don't even remember. The part 6 ending right now is pretty neat. I like it. It's kind of an interesting song choice. I think it's from 2007 or something, so it's one of the most recent ones. Battle, my favorite battles in the series would absolutely be either White Album or the True Man's World. True Man's World is so badass. Dude, you got anime onlys, you've got no idea what you're missing out on. Dude, when they get to part 7, ooh, Ringo? Oh my god. Ringo? Come on. That's also you asked my favorite scene. I don't think I could pick a favorite scene. There isn't necessarily one that stands out to me. In particular, there's so many scenes I love. I'll just pick one at random. I'm trying to pick one that's not from part 5 because I've been just upping it too much. Although I do love the scene from part 5 where what's his name? Popolo? Popo guy? He shoots himself in the head with a banana. Yeah, I remember that one. Favorite scene? Probably one of the scenes from part 7. I love just the bits of Johnny and Gyro hanging out and telling jokes and stuff. What a good dude. Part 7. Oh my god, part 7's so good. It's so good. Yeah, them hanging out. There's so many good freaking scenes from part 7 now that I think about it. I can't even go through all of them. Every time Gyro gives Johnny a lesson, all the battles where he has to teach him a lesson. I love the flashbacks to Johnny's past. I love the scenes. Blackmore is badass. All the things where he's doing stuff with the rain. Stuff where you got to see the relationship between Stephen and Lucy is super cool. Anything with Diego. Part 7's just really good. Please go read it. Yeah. Oh, and favorite villain. I think I missed Diavolo. I think he's awesome. Some people don't like him. They think he doesn't get enough screen time, but I love his presence. I think he's not a character who I think has to be that deep. There's mystery to him, and I don't know. For me, that's enough. There's a mystery to him, and I don't think he really needs a justification for why he does what he does. Besides, he just loves power. He's very archetypal in that way, kind of in the same way that Dio doesn't really have a reason for. Doesn't have much of a motivation. Oh, he's bitter at the world because he grew up with a shitty, abusive dad, and he was really poor, and now he's just crazy and he wants to take over the world. I don't know if Diavolo, like, I don't know. Maybe people are just evil. Just let Diavolo be evil. His name is literally the devil. It means the devil. I think the whole idea, and this is again spoilers, I guess, for JoJo, but the whole idea of him being like hiding his identity by literally having a split personality where the other personality doesn't know who they really are is so cool. It's such a badass, like, it's just like a thing. Like, there's so much I'm spitting now. I'm slobbering. There's so much like tension when Doppio is just like interacting with the other characters, and you're like, oh my god, is the boss gonna come out? Is the personality gonna surface? Yeah, all sick, all great. I think King Crimson's an awesome looking stand. The ability is really cool. I love the fact that he just does like one shots. Every other, like, most other like JoJo villains, they have like, what they'll do, like a stand rush or something like that, right? They'll just do a big flurry of punches in the classic JoJo way. King Crimson just punches you once and just like hole punches you through the chest. That's badass. That's cool. Yeah, I could go a long time talking about JoJo. Should I talk anymore? I do want to talk about that. Okay, so the True Man's World, that fight is so good. That fight is so good, and I was thinking about it the other day. Like, after I recorded that podcast, I was thinking about how awesome Ringo Road Again is. And I was thinking, like, people saying, like, that they wanted Ringo in All-Star Battle, in ASBR. And I don't want him in there. I don't want him in there. I feel like it like defeats the purpose of his character, right? Because like his whole thing is just that he's like, he overcame, for him, like the gunfighting is how he like first overcame his weakness, which was like literally, it was like an internal weakness, but it was like literally represented by him being like frail as a child. And then he like, there's like this, what is it, like a burglar breaks into their house and he like kills his family, and then it's only Ringo, and he pulls out the blicky from under the bed, and he just like, he swallows all of his fear and he shoots the burglar and he kills him right there on the spot. And like like he's talking, it's going through like this flashback, and like the moment that happens, like he almost like transcends, like he becomes more than himself. And so for him, like gunfighting and the duel, it's like his way of reaching like his own version of like nirvana or enlightenment. He literally just calls it the true man's world. He's becoming the true man. True is in like, I'm actually not sure what the original Japanese is. Because if it's Hon, I'm actually curious. Hang on, True Man's World. Because it might be like Hon or Shin. I'm not sure. On the Road Again. Manga debut. In 5 chapters. Holy shit, is it 5 chapters? No, wait, hang on. 2 chapters? No way. First appearance, chapter 33. Final appearance, chapter 35. In 3 chapters? That's insane. I could have sworn that arc was longer. Dude, Araki's like a master of writing. The fact that you could introduce a character and then in 3 chapters make him one of the most memorable, awesome, like, characters in the entire series, and then he just dies, is so cool. Holy crap. Araki's so good. I'm trying to find, like, the original Japanese. Just only to say that, like, A Man's World. Okay, that's the name of the I'm really curious. Okay, so A Man's World is the name of the arc. I always just called it True Man's World. I'm pretty sure everyone just calls it True Man's World. Yeah. I'm curious. Okay, if it was like that's only to say that like the word hon it means like truth or the source of something. It's also like the word for book. It's got a couple different meanings, but assuming that that's the specific character that's used, the specific kanji, it would literally represent like this idea of like being in the source almost, which relates to the spin and the golden ratio, the golden path. It's so, Ringo's so cool. I can't believe that was only 3 chapters. I get that the chapters are a little longer in part 7, but holy crap. Yeah. Welcome to the true man's world. Oh. And I feel like this, it's the simplicity of his character, of just the fact that he's just a one-shot kill you character. It's all about the duel. It's about the single shot. He's almost like it almost reminds me of like a samurai thing. It's like what's it called? Iaido? It's like lightning strike. That's the type of Japanese sword fighting where like they just unsheath and then resheath the sword super fast. And like slash in one motion and that. And the like cowboy quick draw type of character is almost like the Western or the like American, specifically American like equivalent of that, which is I think kind of like sort of what Rocky was going for with his character. And I think that taking like that simplicity and that elegance of his character, where he's so, in a sense, he's so complex, but his worldview and he acts like he's only complex from the outside. Like his inner world, his thought process is, everything is simple. Everything is like completely clear to him. And it all just comes down to the one shot. And then to take that character and then to be like, oh yeah, now, well, so he has like a crouching light, and he's got, his 5M is really good. It's like, I feel like he would defeat the purpose of his character. It would kind of like ruin it, which is why I think I saw a comment about this somewhere. So in KOF, I think like the Nest Saga, so around like the 99, 2000, 2001, they tried out this mechanic called Strikers, which was essentially where you would select a 4th member of your team, and that member was like purely for assists. You would call them in, they do an assist attack. And Strikers are so what was neat about them, the coolest part of Strikers, it's a little awkward. They're a bit of an awkward mechanic. Like, you got the feeling that like they were sort of like they didn't quite know how to do it. But what is cool about them is that there's these like optional bonus strikers, and essentially it was a good way, because SNK was doing this little trick around that time called going bankrupt, which meant that they didn't have the budget to like put in like a bunch of characters or anything. So they basically came up with this strikers system as one, like a little new mechanic gimmick thing for a few entries, but also a way to basically give characters cameo appearances in gameplay, where they like get to do stuff and they're not just in the background or something. And that was essentially through the system of like, I don't know what the term is called, but I'll just call them like bonus strikers or whatever. Basically, some characters, you could select them as a striker, or they would have like an alternate character who was like related to them in some way, that you could select as their striker, who was not actually a playable character. They were only available as like an assist call. So I think like Kasumi or something. I think Kasumi's in that game, and like she has like an alternate striker that's like Toto, which is like her dad, who was in some of the previous games. Sorry, I'm drinking my brain juice. JoJo would be perfect for a game like, it would be a perfect series for a mechanic like that. Like, if you could just call in, if you could just select Ringo as like a call-in assist, and he like shows up, stops time by like 6 seconds, or sorry, rewinds time by 6 seconds, and then does like a single like shot across the screen that's like instant. That would be sick. That would be really cool. And then he just disappears, you know? He just goes away. It would be a perfect series for like cameo appearances like that, because there's a lot of characters who aren't like, they wouldn't really, it would be really hard to make them work as like full-on fighters. Like, I don't know, who's a good example? I don't know, maybe like Chocolata or Sekko. It's like, yeah, I could see them working, but it might be a little tricky, you know? But if you could just call them in and like, oh, Chocolata makes it so that like, if your opponent isn't in the air, they take damage over time for, you know, they get the mold on them or something like that. I don't know. Something funny like that. Notorious B.I.G., that would be a cool one. Like, if the opponent moves at all, it just, like, jumps towards them. That would be fun. There's so many fun ideas you can do with it. Yeah. I hope that answers your question. And more. That looks like it for actual questions. Yep. So, this is a fighting game. This is gonna be a fighting game episode, guys. Not the whole time, probably. But you know, there was a bunch of Guilty Gear stuff yesterday, which means I am required to talk about it. So, Arc Revo America happened yesterday, which is ArcSys's sponsored like official Guilty Gear tournament, or just their tournament for their, you know, whatever games they have out at the moment. And they had said beforehand there was going to be multiple announcements, and boy, were there multiple announcements. So the games are pretty good. I believe it's an invitational or something, or you have to qualify, something like that. And competition was good. I ended up I was at a thing during the day, or like when it started for the first few hours, and I got back just in time to watch like the semifinals and the finals. And Hotashi did not waste any time getting to the announcements. Swept his opponent 3-0 to just take the title. Crushed it on Nago. It was cool to see. Always fun to see some good Nago play. And then they cut over to them and the announcers or the commentators, and they're like, "All right, roll the trailer." And we're like, "Oh boy, who's gonna be the new character? You know, obviously like, okay, so the leaks are saying it could be Slayer, because you know Baiken was leaked. Like, she had voice lines in the game, but like, oh, the Slayer was in the same leak, and I'm like, oh man, you know, I'd be a happy camper if it was Slayer. Favorite fighting game character of all time. You know, who else? Oh, is it gonna be Jam? No, I don't think it'd be Jam. That'd be a weird character to end it off on. Oh, it's probably gonna be Asuka, you know? Asuka's a good call, just because, you know, he's in the story, it makes sense. He was in like the initial data mine thing. There was a folder labeled like ASK. It's like, oh, it's gotta be Asuka. So, you know, the ArcSys logo comes up. We're like, oh boy, oh, it's a DNF Duel trailer. Okay, cool. Well, we got a DNF Duel release date, right? June 18th, I think. Okay, cool. Oh, it's coming out in the summer in a couple months. All right, yeah, coming out in about 3 months. no problem there. Cool. We got a trailer for Ghostblade. They showed off the, and as of yet, only kind of like sprinkled in little character, the engineer or the mechanic. She just appears for like a second. There's an explosion behind her. Okay. All right. Nice little appetizer announcement. Let's get to the character. Okay, the Arxis logo comes up. All right, who's it gonna be? Asuka? I know. I'm getting my. Every single time, I'm seeing that logo, I'm like, inside, I'm like, what if it's Slayer? What if it's Slayer? I gotta be like, nah, it's gonna be Asuka. Just assume it's gonna be Asuka, and you won't be let down. You won't be let down if you assume it's Asuka. Logo fades to white, and Strive's getting crossplay. Cool. It's getting awesome, great. That's really good. Crossplay. Console and PC players are gonna be able to play together. Brings the community together. Makes running online tournaments much easier. Great thing overall. Good job, Arxis. Thanks for getting that done. Responding to the fan demand. And season 2. Season 2. Okay. New story stuff. Okay, cool. Yeah, they said there was going to be new story stuff. And four characters. Okay, four characters. Okay, well, the season 1 had 5 characters. 4 characters. That's fine. That's all right. Cool. So can we get to the character? Okay, so it's the CEO, and he's in a pre-recorded segment, and he's just talking about everything we just saw in the trailer. And now we're going to another guy, and he's talking about stuff, and okay, cool. And now we're going over to Daisuke. Okay. Cool. Hey, Daisuke, what's up? What's up, man? How you doing? And okay, roll the trailer. Okay. Okay. Oh shit. Fuck, Slayer? No. Okay. It's gonna be Asuka. Just assume it's gonna be Asuka. And then there's like the voice comes in, and it's like a demure woman's voice, and I'm like, you can usually tell from the first line who it is, right? That even if a character hasn't been in the series in a while, you can usually tell who it is. But I'm like, I can't think of a single character who would fit that voice. And then they pop up, and it's, who's this lady? Oh, is this a new character? They look a little like, they look like a top hat. They look kind of like Testament, but it's like a woman, isn't it? And then new character, and then the character art render, and the name pops up, and it's Testament, and I'm like, oh, okay. Consider my expectations shattered, I guess. Was not expecting that. I was just I was watching the trailer with a mix of emotions. Number 1, fuck, Testament's back. Number 2, oh, Testament's back. Number 3, is Testament a woman now? Are they Themstament? What's going on here? Because the voice is a woman's voice, but whereas in the previous games it was like a man's voice, wasn't it? Wasn't Testament a guy? And then the 4th thing was, they completely changed the kit. They completely changed Testament's entire moveset. Okay, cool. Well, I'll talk about that later. Yeah, and then, so I was a little confused, and especially because the subtitles specifically used they, and I was always under the impression Testament was a male. Subtitles specifically used they. And I was like, I was just a little confuzzled. And then I found the English dub trailer, and the voice actor for Testament's English dub is very clearly like a male voice, very like masculine voice, and I was like, oh, okay, it's intentional. They're leaning into it being ambiguous, or at least ambiguous, right? It's intentional what they're doing. And then I found out, apparently, Testament was actually always genderless. Testament has always been agender, so to speak. So first of all, the official website uses they and them. And then there was a post on Reddit, someone who did a little user named Amaranth Sparrow did a little research, and there was like a Japanese stream, like a review or like an after party stream, I guess. And so Riku Ozawa, the marketing rep for Arc System Works, who basically says that Testament was originally envisioned as androgynous. They use the word ryose. He was an androgynous character expressing both genders, but that in Strive they have opted to make them agender. And they say agender is the best word. Neither male nor female. Testament is testament. Ozawa-san specifically uses the word musei, which means agender or genderless. So it's literally, if you look at the kanji, it's literally the symbol for nothing or emptiness, mu, and then you might recognize, okay, if we're talking about JoJo, it's the one from Muda. It's the first one in Muda. And then sei, which is like for gender. It's literally no gender. So agender or genderless, and is considered a common non-binary gender category in Japan. Apparently they use the term X-gender. X-gender. That's the term they use over there. After doing a bit more research, it turns out that Testament being biologically androgynous was stated officially by Ishiwatari in an Arc System Works fan club newsletter interview over 20 years ago, and had long been accepted in the Japanese fandom. So yeah, there was back in the 90s, I'm assuming either Guilty Gear or Guilty Gear X, ArcSys had a fan club newsletter, and Daisuke had an interview there, and I guess he was asked about Testament's gender, because I actually learned this too. In Guilty Gear 1, Testament's voice was actually, they took a male VA and a female VA, and they took the male voice actor and the female voice actor, and they laid their lines on top of each other, and then they distorted it. So it was like pretty clearly intentionally supposed to be a mix or something. It's, I don't know, pretty clear like what the intention was. And in Guilty Gear X, they used a more I don't know if they couldn't get the I don't know what this deal with it was, but the one in Guilty Gear X was pretty clearly like a masculine voice, like a kind of like like more of like a brassy, like baritone voice, honestly, with like a heavy distortion filter over it. And that was like the second shot at the character. Technically, so you have to, even though Testament appears in XX, what you gotta understand, XX is basically a sprite dump game. They were just throwing everything they had into that game, probably because they didn't have a huge budget, and it was technically a spin-off. A lot of people don't realize that. XX was actually the spin-off game? Guilty Gear 2 Overture, that's why it's called Guilty Gear 2. Overture is actually the sequel. It's the official sequel. The X series was always a weird spin-off. Yeah. Weird, huh, right? Guilty Gear's so weird. So in the interview, when asked about Testament's gender, Ishiwatari replied, quote, "They're androgynous. In fact, they've..." I love this quote. "In fact, they've transcended human existence. Just like me." Daisuke, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? What do you mean, just like you? Yeah, so, I believe Testament was always translated as being male. It was always like he and him in the English releases. And that's usually okay. So the funny thing about Japanese is that it is actually, the language is actually even less gendered than English, if that makes sense. So like, in languages like French or some other Romance languages, or pretty much every Romance language, and German, I believe, pretty much every word is either masculine or feminine, or I think there's a third one. They probably all have their own term for it, but like the words are like explicitly gendered, right? English does not do that, but we still we still refer to people with, gender pronouns and all that stuff. Japanese does that even less. Japanese is a very like contextual language. You often don't even use pronouns when speaking, unless it's like the first time you're bringing something up or someone up. So words do not have explicit genders, and you usually just you don't even refer to people specifically unless you're making a point to. You don't even really refer to you rarely refer to yourself specifically, right? And I know, like, people who are like, they learn Japanese from anime are going to be like, but watashi and boku. All adults use watashi. Boku is only used by young boys. Once you get to a certain age, everyone uses watashi. Kimi and anata are also not explicitly gendered. It's only that women are expected to use watashi and anata earlier than boys are, which is like a different topic. But that's what it is. It's not explicitly that women use it, but it would be weird if a woman used boku. If like a grown woman used boku, that would be odd. It would be weird if a grown man used boku. So like going off of that is not personal pronouns for like I. That isn't a good indication. So I'm assuming what happened was that when the games were localized, they probably didn't get that much instruction, and they just looked at it and they were like, the character looks male. We're just assuming that it's going to be male. Like maybe they were intentionally, the original Japanese might have been intentionally like gender neutral or something. But it is honestly harder to read into. I mean, if you can Google Translate stuff, for instance, and Google Translate will get the gender wrong about whatever they're talking about because it's not specific in that way. So Testament being agender or whatever, however you want, X gender. I love X gender. Mega Man X gender. Or if because it's Japanese, maybe cross gender. Apparently, that fact about Testament is just been common knowledge in Japan for like 20 years since like the first game. This post says that interview is often quoted on Japanese wikis and message boards, probably because of that funny line of Daisuke saying that he has transcended humanity. And Japanese fans seem to take it to mean that after being surgically remodeled into a gear, Testament took on the traits of both genders. I should mention, if you have no idea who the fuck I'm talking about, Testament is the new Guilty Gear character. Testament's a character who comes from first appeared in Guilty Gear 1 back in 98 as kind of the sub-boss, the mid-boss of the game. Testament was basically, I believe, like as a human was born male, and then was modified into being a gear, kind of like Soul, and then adopted by Cliff, and I believe Cliff kept Testament being a gear like a secret. That's why. So actually, Testament's original design is them wearing. This is a neat detail. Their original design is them wearing it's like a black and gray version or colored version of just the top, like the outer top layer of the Holy Orders or the Holy Knights uniform. So if you look at like Holy Order Soul and Kai in the old games, Testament's just wearing like the outer layer of that without all the under stuff. So they got like the exposed midriff. It's basically like a leather crop top and skirt. So Testament has actually been in most of the Guilty Gear games. And the only reason that they might be less well known is that they skipped out totally from Exert, even I believe from the story mode. Basically, I think in Guilty Gear 1 or Guilty Gear X, Testament was like mind controlled by Justice, because Justice is like the master gear who can like control all the other gears. Oh yeah, speaking about the gender thing. Even in Guilty Gear 1, Justice was translated as being male. They refer to Justice as he, even though it's female, because it's Arya. Justice has always been a woman. Like, it's just that Japanese is vague like that. Just a little fun detail. So Testament was like basically a mind-controlled sub-boss in Guilty Gear 1. And then afterwards, I think, came back to their senses and kind of like retreated. Testament's got a lot of issues. Testament kind of just wants to be left alone. They're kind of a relatable emo edgelord character. They just want to be left alone. And so they kind of take up this purpose with protecting Dizzy, because Dizzy is also a gear like them, who's misunderstood. And because she's like a pacifist and all that, so they protect her in the grove, the magic grove, and then because I think the plot of Guilty Gear X is everyone's trying to hunt down Dizzy because she's like the daughter of Justice. So let's see, yeah, that happens. Dizzy marries Kai afterwards. Kai's like, Daryl, that gear pussy got me questioning my allegiance to the Holy Order. Is that not a meme? That's gotta be a meme. Kai just wants to bang his hot dragon wife. Maybe I'm not so racist after all. So Testament basically didn't have much of a purpose after Dizzy was taken care of by Kai, and they ended up living together in kind of like their secluded, cute little nature house out in the woods. And so they just kind of go back to, I think currently they live with like the old couple that found Dizzy. And they just kind of live out their life in peace and kind of like accepting like, who they are and all that. I found there's an amazing... Where the heck is it? I should have been better about saving or keeping that comment or that post pulled up. There's like a whole rundown. Testament full profile translation. Really? They're from Switzerland. I didn't know that. That's cool. Not a lot of Swiss characters in games. Hobbies. And there's a lot. Subscribing to fashion magazines. Not even reading them, just subscribing to them. DIY projects, collecting cosmetics, putting together plastic models, especially giant robots. They just like me, for real. Sightseeing, fishing, pottery, mountain climbing, bicycling, appreciating opera, working out, fortune telling, bonsai, gardening, watching pro wrestling, making sweets, mahjong, painting, and then it adds poorly, embroidery, hiking, nail art, golf, amateur astronomy. That's cute, just looking at the stars. Touring hot springs, playing board games, writing sci-fi novels, barbecue, belly dancing, beach volleyball, baseball, making dollhouses, liquor, and temperance. Drinking and not drinking. Snowboarding, watching B-movies about sharks, they just like me, for real, buying occult goods on sale, scrapbooking. And then under likes, themself, their family, their familiars, the late Cliff Anderson, and potatoes. They just like me, for real, for real. Yeah, I guess basically Testament has just been chilling out in a peaceful little cottage, getting into hobbies. I like that a lot. Yeah, so if you weren't familiar with Testament from the games, basically, the reason I was like, oh god, Testament's back, is that Testament is easily top 3 in Plus R. Essentially, if I had to describe Testament's playstyle in the previous games, it would be that Testament is a screen pollution character. You just fill the screen with garbage. So Testament has all these different traps they can lay and things they can summon, and projectiles and stuff. They have you can plant. Okay. You can place invisible traps anywhere on the screen. It's like this red bloody net, like spider web. You can it's visible for like literally a split second, and then it fades away, and it's just an invisible trap that will like lock you. It'll catch you in place if you walk into it, or jump into it, or anything. If you touch it without blocking, you have to block into it. You literally have to jump and block into it to get through it, and it hits multiple times. So you gotta like and then fall back down, and then just work your way through this maze of traps. Testament can also plant a tree. It's a really subtle. It's like their hair flips up for like a second. It's a really subtle, hard to see animation, and it's basically you just drop a seed on the ground, and then if you walk over it, a big tree pops up and knocks you into the air and puts you in a juggle state where you can be comboed, and you're poisoned because why not? They also have these. It's called EXE beasts, which are these weird like blood, like purplish bloody like monster heads that come up, and they can like make them go. There's like one that goes forward and one that goes backward, and it's really annoying. Just because it keeps you like in block stun for forever. What else does they have? Oh yeah, they have a cool like it's called Badlands. They just jump forward and swing the big scythe around. Or trying to think of other. Oh yeah, because they need it. They have a skull. They can throw they have a little crow that flies around them, and you can throw a skull as a projectile, and if the skull hits, the opponent gets cursed, and then the crow will start attacking them. It'll like dive bomb on them, and then throw feathers at them, and then it can turn into it actually turns into a succubus. The crow is a succubus in disguise, and the succubus appears above you and then swings a big sickle down from over your head. It'll just start attacking you automatically. And then also Testament has a counter stance, and if you hit them while they're in the counter stance, they teleport to you, and they pop up, and there's a huge column of blood, and it poisons you, because of course. And then also, they can just do the teleport raw without having to do the counter. Testament has a lot of shit, and you just kind of fill the screen up with garbage that's really difficult to get through. Yeah. People hate playing. I hate playing against that character. Not quite as much as I hate playing against Zappa, but I do hate it. So it was like, yeah, not looking forward to Testament coming back, but then you see the trailer and it's like, oh, they just have a totally new moveset. Completely new moveset. Okay, fine, yeah, let's go. All right, cool. Win-win. Maybe the Testament mains who like them for their gameplay are crying, but they should cry because you deserve it. Yeah. So there's not like a ton. I don't want to go into like a whole breakdown like I've done with some of the previous trailers. But it basically looks like they changed Testament from being a trap character to being... I'm not entirely sure. Maybe like a mid-range character with like setups, like a mid-range setup character. It's what it sort of looks like. So basically, they have a new succubus, and there's a pink one and a green one. So the green one is still the crow. It like transforms into the crow. There's a new pink one, and this was kind of neat. So the round start animation, I think what's going on is that when they walk in, the scythe is actually just a staff with like a skull on the top. And then the little pink succubus flies up, and then the skull bites into it, and like a bunch of all the blood pops out. And I think what it is that I think the pink succubus turns into the scythe. I think the pink succubus is like the blood magic from the gear, or from the scythe. Yeah, it's like it's the blood magic. Because there's a couple points. Looks like they kept a lot of Testament's old specials. But there's a couple points where, old normals. Specials look almost entirely new. And there's a few points where, like, they do a move that looks like a special. And obviously, because it's a big red scythe, there's a big, red swing. But then, all this, like, blood glob, like, it's like, it like, leaves this, like, it has almost like this projectile. Like, there's a part where they do, like, a swing, and then out of the swing comes, like, a bloody skull. And the skull then turns into a little heart that has the pink succubus inside. And what it appears to be is that like heart mark is basically a point where Testament can either teleport to, so keeping the teleport, but it's got to be at this point. Can either teleport to it or command the crow to go attack that point. So what I'm guessing is that, and then if the crow, there's a bit where like the crow hits, I think like Kai. I'm not sure if it's on block or something, but it looks like the crow then applies a debuff that like makes you explode after either a few seconds or maybe like when you get hit with another attack. I'm not entirely sure yet, but that's pretty much in the Testament wheelhouse, is a bunch of debuffs and stuff. No poison, which is cool. Down for that. No poison. No more poison. Yeah, so what I'm assuming, just from a pure guess, is that, let me just look up the trailer. What I'm guessing is that when I say mid-range, God, these animations are so pretty. Mid-range like setup character, what I'm assuming is what you do is like you do some kind of a combo or block string, which then leaves like the mark behind your opponent, because it looks like it usually ends up either above or behind the opponent, and then Testament can either like teleport to it or send the crow there. I'm imagining combos where like you do a special that leaves the mark, and then like you then hit them, you like then you follow it up by like sending the crow into them or something like that. I'll have to double check. Yeah, man. So they changed the design a bit. So Testament definitely, like, I like the new design. It kind of falls in line. I have to admit, well, I think the original design is all right. It's a little plain. I'm not sure. It just feels a little plain. I like how the new one adds enough details. It's got like the little buttons on the like skirt, and I don't even know what those would be, like belt loops. I'm not sure what those are on the other like half of where the leg slit is on the skirt. Obviously now they're wearing two belts, at least two belts. A couple little like details on the sleeves. The top hat is cool. The skull motifs. I like the little skulls around around like a little thing around the waist. Yeah, cool looking character. Nice update, like just enough details to the design to make it more interesting without being like super busy, like really unnecessary additions to the design, what I mean. So yeah, just do a little block string. Yeah, so it looks like they do some kind of a move in the air that like leaves the succubus behind there. And then, oh, that's interesting. It disappears after a moment. It leaves the, does it command the crow? Oh, that's what it is. Oh, yeah, so it leaves the little heart, it leaves a little succubus in the air. And then Testament lands on the ground and they do a little move where they kind of like flip they kind of like slide the brim of their cap, of their hat. And the crow, so the pink succubus does a little animation where it looks like she's like beckoning, and the crow flies to the heart. The crow flies to the heart because it's the green, it's the other succubus, interrupts Soul, and then puts the debuff on him, and then the two succubuses do a cute little spin, and then they disappear. And then there's another bit where, that looks like that. Now Testament just has like it looks like a grounded projectile, so you can command the bird now to like do an attack once you've set up the heart. So it leaves like the heart back there. Oh, so even on block it adds I said I wasn't going to do a full breakdown, but I am now. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it might be something that activates. Yeah, I can't tell if it's either like after a delay that the little burst happens, like the extra damage, like the time bomb from the debuff from the bird. If it's like what am I even talking about? I can't tell if because Kai just kind of explodes after a second, and he blocks it, but I don't know. It looks like it could be either on a delay or after you have to like activate it with an attack or something. Yeah, not too much other gameplay stuff in the trailer. A lot of like the animations and stuff. The face is more feminine. They definitely made their face more effeminate. Man, these animations are so fucking cool looking. I love just like the big, bright red blood effects. It's so neat looking, and like the color, like the shapes and like the skulls coming out of there, out of the blood. Oh, you can just do an overhead from wherever. You get an overhead from wherever with the EXE beasts. And one you can have it overhead or one from below, from the ground. Awesome, I love it. They fixed Testament's stupid dust animation. So the old 5D animation sucked. It was Testament like puts the scythe into the ground, and then hands come up from below you, which is like, oh yeah, because it's a launcher. But because all dusts are overheads, it's just a super like weird animation. It's such a hard dust to avoid, in my opinion. New super. Yeah. That's such a cool looking close slash. I don't know. Yeah, so not a whole lot gameplay wise of like mechanics and stuff. Well, I guess, I don't know. Maybe that's going to be like the whole thing is going to be with these setups with the bird and leaving the marks in the air. Also, the White House. The White House is a new stage. I was a little surprised that it wasn't a stage in the base game because it was such a big part of the story mode. Yeah. So Testy looks cool. I really like, this is actually like one of the only cases where I actually think I prefer the English voice. The Japanese voice is fine, like the womanly voice, but I feel like it's a little too sexy. I don't know. I really like the English the English voice's delivery, where it's a little foppish. It's a little like British. It's like, oh, I don't know. I like the delivery as like the line where they say like, I'm just a passer through, and something like that. I don't know, like nothing to see here. I like the. I guess I just like characters who are just kind of like they just pass through. they're just, I don't know. I think something's appealing to me about that. The way that they just kind of like, they're just hanging out and passing through and doing their thing and being cool and having a big edgy scythe and not having some crazy edgelord persona, just an edgelord look, you know. I guess I like that. I don't know. I really like the delivery. Yeah. Oh, right. So there's more story stuff for season 2, and they're doing what I assumed they were going to be doing, because there's about almost every character appears in story mode, of like the base story mode. However, there's like 4 or 5 who don't make any appearance at all, even for like a short while. Like all Anji and Chip, they show up for a bit, and they don't really do anything else. But there's a couple like May, Ram, Faust. It was so weird to have Faust be like completely like one of the most dramatic redesigns in the entire series. Like one that like it literally extends to his character. He's totally different now, and then just not have that explained, which was kind of neat, I guess. Like it was just a mystery why he's like what happened to him. But they're doing what I thought they would do. I remember thinking about this way back when the game first came out and I watched the story mode. It was like they should probably make a story mode. I want the additional story mode to be like a side story with I want to adventure with Ram, Lethal, May, and Faust, and who else didn't appear in the main story from the base roster? I don't even remember. I feel like there's like one more. Nope, yeah, it was literally just them. It was literally just Ram, Faust, and May, and I'm like, I want to see their little misadventure where they get to do a fun little, like, it's also just such an interesting mix of characters to be like, how are May, because May's scared of bald people. How's she gonna, what's she gonna do with Faust, you know? And it also looks like, so they're doing exactly what I thought they were gonna do. And it looks like that's also going to include biking. So that's dope. So just exactly what I thought they should do. And I believe Delilah's also in the trailer, which is Bedman's sister, the Bed Woman. You can only see her in like one shot in the trailer, but yeah. I don't know, it looks cool. I'll watch it when it comes out. I like the story mode in Strive. I'll see this when it comes out. And then, there were so many goddamn announcements. Digital figure mode is coming back, baby! Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Digital figure mode was, if you didn't play Exerd, it was literally a mode where you could collect. It was the same like kind of fishing system as they have in Strive. So you could go like fishing for like cosmetic stuff for your avatar, but you could also go fishing for basically statuettes of characters. They're basically just tiny character models, but you have this mode where you can like you can put down statues of characters and pose them. There's a couple different poses, there's different colors, and stuff like that. And it's just a cute little like bonus extra mode for you to look at the character models and stuff. Looks like they're bringing it back. It was missing on launch. I think they said they wanted to do it at launch. They wanted to have it at launch, but they couldn't because of COVID stuff. Kind of like the Combo Maker. It was one of those things that was just cut because of the COVID. Cut from the release, at least. But now they're adding it. They're finally adding it in the Season 2 patch. I think the Season 2 patch, if not with Testament. And it's totally revamped. It's basically the same thing, but with way more. You can like have multiple different figures in the same like scene essentially. Whereas in Exert there was only like one. You could have a bunch of like individual figures for like individual screens or like displays, I think is what they called them. And then there was like a big display where you could have 3 characters. But it looks like the default now is you can just have multiple figures on a display. You can choose a unique background. There's a bunch of different like bunch of different like Guilty Gear figure mode. There's a bunch of different like new poses. So like the one that they show is like they're like really exhaustive in this like video. They're like, it's like, okay, so it says like category character. So there's like a bunch of different backdrops that are based on basically just stages and scenes from the story mode, which is actually kind of a neat way to reuse assets from the story mode. You can choose character, their color, their pose, their expression, where they're looking, whether or not, I guess for some characters they can have like a mask or glasses. Oh, probably because like Nago, you can have like, oh, is mask on or is mask off? You can change the lighting. You can change the angle of their lighting. Yeah, like you can like have a different. You can rotate them and rotate them on like every axis. You can you can put down, they show like so that basically they create this scene of Soul and Kai like clashing, and you can put down like a big like spark like energy effect and change how big it is and like position it between them. It's really neat. They have like character, object, and effect. So there's like a bunch of different like things that you can put down. So you can like, oh, right where their swords are clashing, you can have a big spark of energy. That's sick. Yeah. And they show a bunch of examples of stuff that you can do. What is that? Is that a big gear? What the heck is that? There's like one. I don't even know what that is. There's like a thing where they show off some examples. Honestly, some of these screenshots look really cool. There's one on the top right with like Gold Lewis posing in front of an explosion with like a glint coming off of his glasses. That's sick. And Happy Chaos like running away from the explosion. That's funny. There's, I don't even know who that is. Is that like Soul and Potemkin fighting a giant gear? What is that? There's Anji and Baiken chilling out. Yeah, just like some cool you can, that's cute. Eno and Axel eating lunch together. And you can share them online. Awesome. Yeah, so you can just have like as many figures on like a scene as you want, it looks like. You can add comments. That's cool. Yeah, so that's all coming in the second season, along with like more colors and stuff like that. Sweet. I just wanted to, I want to get a closer look at these just absolutely gorgeous models that they made for this game. That looks great. I love side content like this. This is what makes series, I don't know, it's part of just like the little magic of fighting games. Little interesting little side content like this is always great. It's really creative. I love stuff like that. Anyway, I think that's everything. I believe that's everything. Testament looks cool. I might have to learn some of them just to see. I'll try them out, absolutely. I've got I'm going to be able to play them on day one. Come out on like March 28th, so in like a week basically. And I'll be able to, I might learn them just for the edgelord status. But we'll see, I'm excited. They have a weird-ass theme. Then I was like, oh, the theme's kind of weird sounding. But like every theme in Strive, if you listen to like 5 seconds, most of Strive's soundtrack is funny because like if you listen to 5 seconds of it, it sounds like really weird and bad. But then when you listen to the whole song, you're like, oh, this song is awesome. Like I remember when they first did the trailer for the soundtrack, and they showed Zato's theme. They played like 15 seconds of Zato's theme, and it's like, what is this? And it's like, I think specifically the part with the weird time signatures. So like Zato's theme, Let Me Carve Your Way, is the intro, and I think some other parts of it, the instrumental and the vocals are in two different time signatures, which is supposed to like symbolize, it's supposed to be like a reference to like Zato's split, not quite split personality, but his the conflict between him and his shadow, right? And so it's literally like two different tempos, you know, two different time signatures, two different beats going on over them, and it's interesting because like they don't match up at all, but like every three or five bars or something like that, they sync up, and it's such an interesting sounding song. And yeah, it's a really cool song when you listen to it all the way through, but like hearing 15 seconds is like, what is this? Like, what are they doing? Yeah, Testament's theme will probably be like that too. Doesn't have the immediate catchiness of Happy Chaos's. Like I was humming Chaos's theme the day his trailer came out. It took me 10 years to find the answer to something. I forgot about it in 2 seconds. That's about it. I don't have anything really important to me. That's why everything is beautiful. I love that song. I love Drift is so good. Another weird song that if you listen to like 15 seconds of it, you'd be like, what? Yeah. Yeah. Testament, Investment. So many good memes about the the existence of gender neutral implies the existence of gender footsies. Gender neutral implies gender frame advantage. Dude, I'm not ready for the they-them mix. I'm not ready for the gender 50-50, dude. High-low. Oh, that's going to be some nasty shit if Testament can do that. Like, because they have, like, the overhead special with summoning the EXE beast and the low. That's, like, pretty fast from the looks of it. So, like, can you set up, like, the heart mark? And then, can you set up, like, the heart mark behind the enemy? And then, like, do, like, a low EXE beast into, like, teleport overhead? Bruh. What about, like, teleport? Oh, you, like, teleport empty, like, empty fall throw? The mix-ups, dude. Uncle Ben, what happened? They, them mixes. Yeah, I was expecting it to be like as soon as I saw all the stuff, as soon as I read the word like non-binary, I'm like, oh god, people are gonna fucking be bitching about this. You know, I don't give a fuck about any of that, right? I don't give a shit, right? I don't have anything. It's really, it's not really important to me. I don't care, whatever, you know? There's crazier things in Guilty Gear than a character who has no gender. But people, I don't know, people bring in way too much of their real world, like, politics shit, and they're like, oh, oh my god, they just fucking throw a fit over it. And then people start arguing with them, and I'm like, I just want to grill, for God's sake. I just want to play Guilty Gear, for God's sake. And yeah, there's been a little bit of that, of people just, I saw some fucking bizarre takes. I saw like a thread on Kappa about it, where some guy was like, this is what happens when we don't have any wars. I'm like, what the fuck? That like, he was making this bizarre argument that like, Twitter and the lack of wars leads to people being mentally ill, Which is really funny, because I'm pretty sure wars cause more mental illnesses than they prevent. Just some fucking nutty takes. Dude, you need to get your head checked. What the fuck? But actually, yeah, no, Guilty Gear actually has a pretty noticeable, like, LGBT audience, part of the fan base. A lot of guilty queers, if you will. The G actually stands for Guilty Gear in LGBT. Then the T stands for Testament. The B stands for Biken. Wait, are there any L characters? Wait, there's got to be L characters in Guilty Gear? Leo Paladin? LGBT stands for Leo Paladin, Guilty Gear, Biken, and Testament. The plus stands for plus R. So it actually wasn't really as bad. People were actually pretty hype about it. Most of what I saw was just confusion of people being like, I'm new to this series. Is this character male or female? And then someone comments like, oh, here's the little short explanation. They're androgynous. And then they go, oh, okay, thank you. So actually fairly civil, which is fine. I prefer it to people having a big fucking shitstorm. No, my fiction, my pure fiction from the glorious Nippon. Dude, the most embarrassing shit in the world is watching people, this is like a Twitter thing, just fucking, and it's always like Americans, just white knight for Japan, and it's the most embarrassing thing to see, where like everything from Japan is this pure, wonderful, just uncorrupted thing. Everything from the West is corrupted by the political influences. It's like, okay. I'm gonna go on a mini rant here. This has almost nothing to do with Guilty Gear. Okay, so my opinion, I think, like, politics is a thing you can define, but here's the thing, is that politics is just an idea, right? Politics is just a concept. And really, in a practical sense, like when you're analyzing things or taking in information, politics is one lens that you can choose to view the world through. You can choose to view things through a political lens, just like you can choose not to, right? You can view things through tons of different perspectives. You can view them through a historical perspective, through creative perspectives, perspectives based off of your own experience, perspectives based off of someone who's into something, right? Or you can choose to view them through, not much perspective at all. My point is that there are works that are, and things that are expressly political, right? And I do think, genuinely, you could probably read, I don't know, like, you can read Animal Farm, for instance, and look at it completely apolitically, which is how George Orwell avoided the gulag. It's just about animals, right? You can view it as just a story, or you can view it as a political commentary on a political commentary on communism, or how communism unfolded in Russia, and then you can view it through a historical lens. You can view it at the time that it came out, right? The conditions it was written under, and you can analyze it there. You can look at it through the lens of George Orwell's life. You can look at it through the perspective of just storytelling in general, just an artistic analysis of it, right? And all of these are totally valid ways to interpret anything, any kind of work. Only one of which is political. Same thing, I think, with the Bible. You can view the Bible as like a religious text. You can view it as a historical text. In many ways, it is kind of a historical text. People be like, you think that creationism is historical? It's like, I think, no, I think the long sections of the Bible where it's just giving you a family tree are the historical parts of the Bible. And also there's some stuff that's like, this is probably about how it went down, sort of. Certain parts of it, especially in the Old Testament. Actually, in the New Testament, there's probably stuff with like post-Gospels. So you can view the Bible as like a very strict, like literal interpretation, like a theological interpretation. You can view the Bible as a philosophical work, right? You can view stories, so many stories from the Bible through like I'm not a religious person, right? I don't necessarily believe in God or anything. And I can actually get quite a lot out of the Bible just by reading into it and applying it to my own life. Not in like, I should worship God and so and so and so and obey these laws because of God, but these are maybe like generally good ideas. Things like loving your neighbor, forgiving people, tons of other ideas that are come up in the Bible at different points, and that's because I'm viewing it through more. I choose to view it through more of a philosophical lens, as a philosophic text. My like senior year theology class was basically my senior theology teacher was just a philosophy, like I think he had a doctorate in theology, and so our theology class was literally just a philosophy class that used the Bible as like a basis, like a jumping off point. And I found that super interesting, of like analyzing the Bible in that kind of a way. How can we apply these ideas to society and our interpersonal relationships? So there's people who like complain about like all the politics and this and that. And like, yeah, there are things which are overtly political. But also, like, if you really see politics in everything, which some of these people do, right? Like, they can't see one fucking, like, black person in a thing without calling it political. Like you get, like, you're like, well, why is this political that the main character of, for instance, like, Deathloop, the two main, like, leading characters are black, right? One of them's a woman. I looked at that and I'm like, oh, okay. I understand that they are black. I do not really think anything of it, and I move on. What is the game like? Some people look at that and they're like, oh my god, they're just going for the woke points. And I'm like, how do you know that? And it's like, well, it's like an option select, right? It's like, well, even if it's not political, it's going for the woke points. Because how can you prove... well, you can't prove that it's not. And it's like, why would someone be going for quote-unquote woke points? And it's like, and the reply is like, to appease Twitter. The collective of Twitter. And it just gets into these vagaries, and at some point you realize, like, I think you're seeing politics in this thing because you choose to see politics in this thing. And it's funny because a lot of these people end up being the same kinds of people who say that they don't like politics and think, like, get the politics out of my media. I don't want the politics in my things. And I'm gonna give you a little Tigan hot take. If you want to get, if you're someone who wants all politics out of your media, I have some bad news for you. A lot of the media you already like probably has politics in it already, or can be viewed through a political lens. And the only reason that you don't notice it is because it agrees with you and it doesn't challenge your worldviews. And you relate to it. I'm sorry, it's hard to hear, but it's true. At some point, you at least need to challenge yourself and engage with different ideas, even if you don't agree with them or you think they're cringy. And you should probably be equal opportunity with where you see your politics. Like, I feel like most people, like, you cannot view everything through a political lens and keep your sanity. Like, when I read people on, like, there's people who I call them Twitter people. They're just, like, terminally online. Chronically, critically online. And you can just tell from reading them. Doesn't matter what aisle or the spectrum of the political thing they're on. Their heads are just fucking underwater in this shit. And you're like, geez Louise, dude. You just come up, like, go take a hike. You know? Touch grass, I guess. Go, like, take a hike. Go be in nature for a bit. Clear your head. Don't look at the internet for, like, 24 to 48 hours. Just unclog your mind. Because politics sucks, right? Politics is horrible. It's terrible. And you have to engage with it. I think you should engage with it on some level, to some capacity, but in, like, enough moderation that you can keep your sanity. And you see these Twitter people, and you're like, oh my god, you're completely off the fucking deep end. I saw the most insane thing the other day. So I would generally advise anyone to avoid looking up the Twitter accounts of people, or of the English voice actors for Persona 4. Just don't do it. Case in point, I forgot what her name is. She's the voice actor for Yukino? Oh fuck, is it Yukino or Yukiko? Red girl with the glasses from Persona 4. She said she had this, it was something along the lines of, like, I'm so glad that the war in Ukraine is happening now and not 2 years ago, because the U.S. has always re-elected the same president during a war. Like, typically in, like, the U.S., when we have a war, we don't go with a new president if it's election season. We stick with the old one, we re-elect them. And if it happened, like, 2 years ago, that Trump would have had a second term and committed, like, an LGBTQIA plus R Holocaust, and you're just, what the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with you? What? And then when people started calling her out for this, she just, like, freaked out, and she was like, look, I tried to see the silver lining in everything when my son had cancer. I was like, Jesus Christ, you're fucking off your rocker. What the fuck? What the fuck kind of a thought process is that? Please get off Twitter. Please. For your sake. I'm not even like, for your sake, please. Oh my god, it's just wild. You gotta, like, unclog your head and just I don't know, enjoy something. I would suggest to, like, anyone listening, here's my tips. Here's a Tigan Pro tips for, like, not becoming a fringe political weirdo. Get a hobby that does not revolve around entertainment. Like gaming, anime, manga, television, whatever. Get a hobby that does not involve entertainment. Like, it doesn't even have to be, you don't have to take up woodworking or anything. Like, just take a walk, you know? Start taking walks. I take a walk, like, once or twice a day. I listen to music, and I just clear my head. Just do something like that, you know? Frickin', I don't know, carve soap? Doesn't even have to be anything crafty, you know? Do something that is not entertainment related, you know? at a certain point, when your entire like life revolves around entertainment, I feel like there's like a weird thing that happens to your brain where, I don't know, I can't describe it, but I feel like you know what I'm talking about. You need to ground yourself. The problem is that it's all ideas, and ideas are great. I'm an ideas person. Like, I play with ideas. I'm a writer, and I make YouTube videos, and I do stuff like this, and I think a lot. I think a lot. What a dumb thing to say. But like, ideas aren't real, right? It's not real. Like, politics aren't real. For instance, entertainment isn't real. It's just ideas, really. And like, when everything in your life revolves around ideas, you just, like, your feet leave the ground, right? And you just end up making bizarre, weird takes. Like, at least Ukraine is getting invaded now and not 2 years ago, because otherwise Trump would have been reelected. Like, that's, I feel like, when you need like, start gardening. I don't know. Do something, like, with the real world. Touch grass is too simple, and I feel like a little too condescending of a way to say it. But essentially, in essence, touch grass. Even if it's like, I don't know. Creative things are probably fine for that. Like if you play music or something like that. Just something. Just please don't be a weird fringe weirdo. That's the worst kind of person. Anyway. Remember when this podcast was about Guilty Gear? I want to talk real quick about the Japan Fighting Game Developers Roundtable. Yeah! So this was something that happened... Jeez Louise, I have like all this weird... It's like a burp coming up. But it's not like a... It's not like a burp. It's just like pressure in my chest. You know that? And just kind of like wells up and then it just goes away. Anyway. Yeah, the Fighting Game Developers Roundtable. So this was something that they did last year, kind of in response to COVID, because... Wait, or did they do it in 2020? I think they might have started it in 2020. Basically, they started in 2020, then the second one last year. That was where, some Guilty Gear stuff. That was where Eno got announced. Damn, that really was it, wasn't it? Can't remember, she got leaked beforehand by IGN accidentally. Basically, because of COVID and lockdowns and all that, and events not happening, a bunch of companies needed ways to do their announcements, and only so many companies and developers and publishers are big enough to warrant like having like a whole stage or something like that. You know, like a big like Nintendo can do a Nintendo Direct, right? The fighting game developers, they all kind of got together and they were like, hey, let's all just kind of like glob together and do a big event with each other so that everyone can kind of like get the same, almost like we're creating our own stage to kind of like, you know, pull all of our numbers and all of our audiences together. So it's going to be happening actually on Monday when this goes up. This will probably air, I don't know if this will probably be up before before it happens. So it's on 3/21 from 15 o'clock to 17:30, which are made up times for communists. But on the real, it's like 11 a.m. my time or something like that. Anyway. I bring it up just because someone, the user Cowtail Robinson on made a bingo card for the stream. So I remember last year, they spent a good 30 minutes talking about nothing, and then the last 30 minutes was just trailers. So let's see. Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of announcements here, I'm assuming. And this user has made a little bingo card. So the bingo card reads, I'll link to it in the description. Announcement of an announcement. A lame digital eclipse collection. I have to double check which, hang on, digital eclipse. Oh yeah, they did the Disney classic games. Space Jam: A New Legacy, the game. Arcade's greatest hits. Come on. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga Collection. Blizzard Arcade Collection. Samurai Showdown Neo Geo Collection. Disney Classic Games. Aladdin and the Lion King. SNK 40th Anniversary Collection. Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection. The Disney Afternoon Collection. Mega Man Legacy Collection. This is the company that made Spider-Man 2. Like the good one. As far as I'm aware. It says Spider-Man 2 here. Was this Digital Eclipse? Oh, it was the GBA version. Okay. And the N-Gage version. Holy shit. Okay. Anyway, Virtua Fighter 5 US DLC pack. Maybe. I feel like that's kind of a long shot. Luke nerfs. Harada interrupts someone. DNF trailer for the Ghost Dude. Fexel 80 update on Steam. Well, they already did the DNF trailer for the Ghost. Well, they haven't done Ghostblade's like a standalone trailer. So maybe. Still no SF6 news, LOL. They might do, if I had to guess, it would be the Ghostblade and Mechanic. New rollback update. Parentheses, any game. Wi-Fi shaming, but the game has no Wi-Fi indicator. So this was something that happened with last time, where they were like, yeah, so apparently like Wi-Fi is kind of bad to play on. Yeah, that was like, oh yeah, Harada was bringing up the Wi-Fi players and being like, yeah, the Wi-Fi players are the ones that are causing the trouble. Sorry, I just smacked the fuck out of my pop filter again. Wi-Fi players are causing trouble. No Wi-Fi indicator though, so that you can avoid them. Excited for a game to be featured at EVO. Tekken Cross Street Fighter still cancelled. Free space. Harada gets passive-aggressive about netcode. Still no Virtua Fighter 5 US PC port. I can't believe that game was only on PlayStation. Yeah, the Virtua Fighter relaunch was absolutely, in my opinion, absolutely a testing the waters for a future game. Apparently, it was successful. Code Mystics port updates. Harada gets aggressive about netcode. Team Southtown trailer. Hashtag DripGod. I'd be hyped for that. Please just show me Ryuji. VF6. PS5 only in 2024. Delayed release date for DNF Duel. Well, we know that's not happening. Might have to update this one. Strive DLC story trailer. I guess that, again, still not happening. Japan only VF5 esports event. Okay. the phrase, please understand. Luke buffs. Apparently they're not going to be buffing Luke. They're just buffing every other character in Street Fighter V. Going by the new final update trailer. New Strife character already leaked. Dude, all these have been knocked out by the Arc Revo announcement barrage. And then the phrase, if the fans demand it. Yeah, so I'm gonna be... I love Harada gets aggressive about it. Half of these are just about Harada. Okay, well, I'm running a little long, so I want to wrap this up with some thoughts on Ion Fury, which I finished yesterday evening. So, finished Ion Fury. It's pretty consistently good throughout. Yeah, I don't know. Most of my thoughts are pretty much the same. The spider enemies are annoying as shit. I hate them. I hate the little spiders. Any kind of annoying nuisance enemy is usually my least favorite. It's usually like the most hated. Like the hands in blood. The spiders in blood. The rats in blood are annoying, but I guess they're the least bad. Blood has too many of those little nuisance enemies. The lost souls in Doom. Hate this MF. The stupid drones in Duke Nukem. There's gotta be one in Shadow Warrior that I'm just forgetting. Ion Fury has these stupid little spider heads. They're like heads with robot spider legs. They suck. They're always hanging on the ceiling, and then they drop down. You can never see them. There's a couple... Okay, as I went through the game, there's a couple of what I like to call certified build engine jank moments. So the build engine is doing it's fake 3D. Sometimes called 2.5D, but I don't know if that's really accurate. It's technically... The game runs in 2D, but there's some technical wizardry to make it appear 3D. It's not actual full 3D. That wouldn't come until Quake. It's just appearing as 3D, which means that there's some like shenanigans going on to calculate stuff like height and all that. And there are points in this game where I'm shooting at something and it's just, my shots just disappear into either the thing right below, like it's on an enemy that's on a ledge or some kind of elevated platform, and it just disappears. It just disappears into the platform, or it goes straight behind them, or I'm shooting directly at them and my bullets are hitting the wall underneath them, and I'm like, I'm getting built. I'm being build-engined. And that unfortunately got a little more frequent as the game went on. So that was annoying. I did turn off auto aim, so maybe that's my fault. But, you know, I turned off auto aim just because, like, it was annoying to have, like, a ton of enemies in front of me, and I'm actually, like, trying to hit one in the back, because there's a bunch of, like, little, you know, there's a bunch of little spiders, and there's these little, like, robot centipede things, and they're all, like, low to the ground, and I'm trying to shoot at, like, one of the humanoid enemies that's in the back, and I can't shoot them because my bullets are just magnetically traveling downward to hit all the other enemies. So I was like, okay, I'll turn that off. But then what happened is that, now that auto aim is off, it isn't going to correct it, and I'm going to run into that build engine jank. Yeah, that's annoying, especially when you waste a lot of ammo not hitting the enemy. The final boss is a decent crack at doing a final boss in one of these games. The big problem with these games, with retro shooters in general, when it comes to like bosses, is that the main like spice, right? I talked about this I think last time, is that non-orthogonal unit differentiation. The chess piece enemy design of every single enemy serves a different purpose, and the ones that the combination, the way you mix and match them in different situations together is and what weapons you give the player is what gives it all the what lets you create interesting combat scenarios for the player. And so trying to distill that kind of like trying to like distill that sort of a challenge into a single enemy is usually hard. It's usually difficult. The Spider Mastermind from the original Doom, kind of a big letdown. kind of a really shitty last boss. They had no idea what to do. They were like, okay, we'll just have a big, pardon me, we'll just have a big area, and there's like some big enemies walking around, and the boss is over there, and I just shot rockets at it until it died from like 30 feet away. Didn't even hit me. And then, you know, Doom 2, they were like, oh, let's try and take a better shot at it. And then you get the icon of sin, which is, oh, you gotta go onto the platform that raises up, and then you gotta shoot a rocket into the brain hole. And then it's spawning enemies around you, and it's okay. It's fine. It's not great. Yeah, pretty much. Duke Nukem. Oh, you strafe around and you shoot the boss. All right. Even, you know, blood. I think the bosses are just, again, the weakest part of blood. I mean, Chernobog has this huge buildup, and then the wall comes up, and guess what? You just switch to all your super weapons. You just switch to your napalm, and then you just until you're out, and then you switch to Tesla cannon, and you just and then he dies. And you literally just trap him in the little room, the little box that he comes out of, and he literally can't get out because you're bouncing him around with the napalm. And it's pathetic. Yeah, so a lot of these games tend to suffer from that. I thought Dusk had a pretty good final boss, all things considered. I don't exactly want to get into that because it's really cool. It's a really cool final boss. And this game had, let's see, a Medieval had a decent final boss. It was okay. It's just kind of an endurance thing, mainly. Like how long you can stay alive to finish off the boss's health bar quickly enough. It's pretty good. This one also has another pretty good crack at it, basically. The main villain is like this evil scientist named Heskel. And he's in like, it ends, the final level boss is you're in like a stage. It's a big room with like a how would I call it? Like scaffolding around the edge, and then in the center there's like a dome where he's working in, and you have to jump on top of the dome and then throw bombs down a little hole at the top, and that's how you do damage to him. And he just continuously there's like 5 or something waves of enemies, and then every single wave that gets released, which they all get released at different basically health thresholds, basically phases. Every phase is a new wave, and new hazards get added. So it's like, oh, the floor around the dome, it always has these like lasers spinning around it that you have to like jump through because there's like some health items and ammo and stuff down there. But then, oh, there's like an inner circle right around the dome that turns into like toxic slime that starts like spinning. So in addition to the lasers, and then there's all these enemies being released, and the ones that get released, and then yada yada yada. And it's fine. Once I figured out the thing, and I realized it is a severe ramp up in difficulty. It basically asks that you are really good at target identification, or basically creating the game plan, which is the priority order is what I'm really trying to say. Because there's enemies, like there's this annoying ass enemy that's like a flying drone that shoots missiles, like a barrage of missiles, and you got to take those guys out first. It's like those guys, and then the shotgunners, and then maybe like and everything else is kind of like the pretty not too difficult. Maybe like the Wendigos. This is the second boomer shooter I've played with like Skinwalker themed enemies. It's just like a thing that leaps. It's just like a Wendigo, like a mecha Skinwalker that jumps at you. It's kind of neat. Oh yeah, so like yeah, so you the missile drones, shotgunners. There's these guys who are like, they're like exoskeletons and then they have like flaming skulls for heads, and they shoot fire at you. And when you're strafing around in a big area like this, it's actually not too hard to dodge them, so you could kind of deal with them a little later. So like they and the Wendigos are kind of like the upper echelon characters, or upper tier heavier enemies. But the main threats are basically the ones who can shoot you fast and hard. So the missile guys, shotgunners, that's mainly it. I guess you can take care of the other hit scanners, but the ones that use like projectiles, you can kind of do a little. You can kind of take them on a little, save them for afterwards, and then the little nuisance guys like the zombies, which they introduce, the spiders, the centipedes, even some of like the other flying. Like there's some laser drones which are annoying, but again, if you're strafing around, they shoot projectiles, so they're not too hard. Not too hard. And then, yeah, then the game just ends. You blow Haskell the F up. I enjoyed it. It's definitely a game that's trying to make you upset, and I appreciate that. Tell you what, I had another. So I talked about maybe Elden Ring. I made an offhand comment about Elden Ring and Souls games, and I said I wasn't that interested in Elden Ring because it's open world or something. And I believe Gus recommended, if not Elden Ring at the time, maybe like Dark Souls 3. And you know what's so weird is I had a dream. I had a dream about playing a Souls game, like Elden Ring. Like I was dreaming about playing the game. I haven't even seen that much footage about it, of the game. I was dreaming about it. And I had another dream about playing it like last night or 2 nights ago. Super weird. I almost never have dreams like that. Maybe it's, maybe it's a message. Maybe it's a sign. I did wishlist Dark Souls 3 on Steam. I was so I know that Elden Ring's having some issues on the PC port. Which is like, hey, just Japanese developer things, having a jank PC port. So for the time being, I've just wishlisted Dark Souls 3. Still at $60. Like, 2016 was 8 years ago? Oh, God, it was, wasn't it? No. Oh, God, it was. I was a freshman in high school. Oh, geez Louise. And now oh, God. Fuck. Jesus Christ. Yeah, 8 years ago. The game's still $60. I don't know what's up with that. And it only goes on sale. I looked at, like, the sale history. Because I couldn't believe I'm like, is it still $60? How often does it go on sale? So I checked the sales history. Yeah, it goes on sale, like, every few months. Down to, like, I think $24, something like that. So I might pick it up then. Just because I would always recommend that if you are not, I would always say as like a consumer advocate, or just, to be responsible with your money, things like, I would not recommend pre-ordering a game or going like all in on a purchase unless you're like really certain. Like, if you've read, so there's like a few, okay, so for instance, I never pre-order games. I technically did pre-order Guilty Gear Strive, like the day before it came out, because for a few reasons. Number one, I love Guilty Gear, and I want to support it. Number two, the game had already had like 3 betas, so we knew that it wasn't like fucked up and half finished in terms of like gameplay. And also, like, yeah, it might have been a little content dry, but it's got rollback, and I don't really play, I'm just a guy who, like, I mostly play fighting games online, and I'm not super into single-player content, so it wasn't as big of a deal to me, and to me, that was like, yeah, I'll, pre-order it just cause I also wanted to, like, just have the download ready as soon as, like, midnight hit on the release date. So, like, that's a case where I would pre-order it because I had a lot of confidence in it, right? There was a lot of the game had a lot of, like, hands-on time with people whose opinions that I trust. A lot of footage. They were not scared of showing footage off. And then there was, I've never pre-ordered anything else. And then like going, full on like the $60 is, let's see. I did that with Nier Automata. I did that with Outer Worlds. Fuck, it's so easy to because they came out around the same time. Outer Wilds and Outer Worlds. And that was because I read opinions from people I trust that the games were good and they looked interesting. And from what I heard about them, it seemed like something that was interesting. So, let's say, even if I'm dropping 60 bones on it, even if it's bad, it's at least going to be interesting. I don't want to feel like I wasted my money. See, when I play something bad, I don't even feel like I wasted my money. Like, at least I got some kind of experience out of it. And now with the podcast, I can talk about it here. Yeah, so I would generally like, Dark Souls, it's a series like, I don't know if I'll like it. $60 seems a little pricey, especially for a game that's 8 years old. Like, come on, guys. Really? Can't even drop it down to like $40? This is also when I found out that Bloodborne just never got a PC release. I just always kind of assumed at the back of my mind that it had gotten a PC release. It hadn't. It was like PS4, PS5 exclusive. Dark Souls 2, so Dark Souls Remastered is on Steam for $40. And Dark Souls 2, it looks like, is also on here. I've heard 2 is like the bad one. I don't know. Dark Souls 2 is there. Is it? Yeah, Dark Souls 2 is on there. I don't know. If Dark Souls Remastered is for $40, you Dark Souls experts out there, let me know. Is the remastered version worth it, especially on PC? Like, is the PC port fucked up? Because I might jump into that one first, just because of the lower price point. I'd really like Bloodborne, man. I just think Bloodborne is cool. It's more gothic, so obviously it's more up my alley. Yeah, bring that up. Maybe now that, Sony's got their... I've heard, like, it's been confirmed that Bloodborne PC release. And, like, when people say that, it's like, was it really confirmed, or I don't know. Pardon me. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, maybe now that Sony has their whole, like, PlayStation PC thing, they'll port it over. I would be really down for that. Please don't make it $60. Like, Christ. That game came out when I was in middle school. Come on. You can't make it $60 at this point. Yeah, jeez, my throat's getting tired. I'm gonna call it a day here. If you've been listening this far, thank you so much. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below, and I'll definitely get to them next time, but it should be phrased in the form of a question, because I'm not just going to read your thoughts out loud. Thank you for listening to me ramble about nonsense for 2 hours and 8 minutes. Have a good one, everybody. Look forward to Testament. Look forward to that, whatever else is coming up. Go play Ion Fury. We're going to have an interesting episode next week. I'm doing something fun on the podcast. Not on the podcast, but I'll be talking about what I'll do on the podcast. You'll see. It's going to be fun. All right. Later. Bye.